Midjourney, watch out, DALL-E 3 is on the way, and this version is directly integrated into ChatGPT. Here's 5 reasons why this might be the biggest AI product announcement in months. Welcome back to the AI Breakdown. Today we are talking all about the announcement from OpenAI yesterday that DALL-E 3 was on its way and it was going to be integrated directly into ChatGPT. On this episode, I'm going to go through 5 reasons why I think this is such a big deal. And while I am designing this for podcast consumption, I also would highly suggest that if you don't yet, you go subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, as this is obviously inherently a pretty visual story. By way of previewing the conversation, here are the 5 reasons I think it's such a big deal. The first is the advance in quality in one of the most important AI areas of image generation. The second is its integration with ChatGPT, which has both a user experience as well as a mainstreaming dimension. The third are the implications for multimodality as the next iteration of generative AI. Fourth is its impact on competitors like Midjourney. And 5 is what I'm calling competitive accelerationism, or the increase in speed of development and release based on market competition. How that's good and how it also might be not so good. Let's look at the announcement first. Yesterday, OpenAI tweeted, "Our new text-to-image model DALL-E 3 can translate nuanced requests into extremely detailed and accurate images. Coming soon to ChatGPT Plus and Enterprise, which can help you craft amazing prompts to bring your ideas to life." Believe it or not, there is tons in there, and many of those themes are announced in their basic product landing page. DALL-E 3, OpenAI writes, understands significantly more nuance and detail than our previous systems, allowing you to easily translate your ideas into exceptionally accurate images. The first reason that DALL-E 3 is significant is the simple fact that in many ways it seems to be an advance on the current state of the art, which is Midjourney 5.2, which came out earlier this year in June. I'm going to get into a bit more of a comparison between the two in just a moment, but one of the things that DALL-E 3 seems to do really well, at least on first glance, and at least with the demo images that have been shared, is handling nuance and detail really well. It feels more precise, and because it's more precise, it ends up being more expressive. When a model is better able to understand, for example, inspirations or criteria or styles such as pointillism or cardboard cutouts or whatever it is, the end result is a lot closer to what the prompter imagines. Now, the other piece of this, again, compared to Midjourney specifically, is the fact that DALL-E 3 apparently handles text much better. One of the examples they give is a poster that says "Explore Venus," which is something that you just can't do right now on Midjourney, although you can do it with some other models, including those from Stability AI. Anyway, the TLDR for this argument is that if this was the only advance, just a more precise, higher-powered image generation model, that would still be significant. However, that's not the only thing about this, and in fact, in some ways, it's overshadowed by where this exists and how people are going to interact with it. DALL-E 3 is built natively into ChatGPT, and that means a number of different things. First of all, it means that it's more natively suited to natural language prompting than the sort of prompt engineering that people have to do with tools like Midjourney. Indeed, OpenAI says that part of what makes DALL-E 3 so much more expressive and so much better able to handle nuance is the fact that it is natively built on GPT. On the product page, this is one of the biggest highlights that they make. OpenAI writes, "Modern text-to-image systems have a tendency to ignore words or descriptions, forcing users to learn prompt engineering. DALL-E 3 represents a leap forward in our ability to generate images that exactly adhere to the text you provide." The example they give is a nighttime illustration of what might be mid-20th century London, in which they point out how a number of different parts of the natural language prompt come to life. A sidewalk bustling with pedestrians enjoying the nightlife, a bustling street under the shine of a full moon. At the corner stall, a young woman with fiery red hair dressed in a signature velvet cloak is haggling with the grumpy old vendor. The grumpy vendor, a talented man, is wearing a sharp suit, sports a noteworthy mustache, and is animatedly conversing on his steampunk telephone. Now, one thing it should be noted is that right now, all we have in terms of understanding the quality of DALL-E 3 are the highly curated and selected examples that OpenAI has given us. So far as I have seen, the company has promised that this will be rolling out into ChatGPT Plus and Enterprise in the near future, but so far I haven't seen anybody that actually has access to it, which means, of course, that we have to take any big claims with a grain of salt until we can test it ourselves. Still, if DALL-E 3 really can handle this level of linguistic nuance when it comes to prompting, it is a total game changer relative to what you get from something like Midjourney. The other piece of that is how ChatGPT might actually be a useful assistant in refining prompts. Again, OpenAI writes, DALL-E 3 is built natively on ChatGPT, which lets you use ChatGPT as a brainstorming partner and refiner of prompts. Just ask ChatGPT what you want to see in anything from a simple sentence to a detailed paragraph. When prompted with an idea, ChatGPT will automatically generate tailored detailed prompts for DALL-E 3 that bring your idea to life. If you like a particular image but it's not quite right, you can ask ChatGPT to make tweaks with just a few words. Now, the other important piece of the argument about why it's so transformative to be integrated natively with ChatGPT is, of course, just distribution. Right now, the biggest player in this text-to-image space is Midjourney, and to use Midjourney, you basically have to live inside Discord. That is a huge barrier for normal consumers, and the fact that there are already hundreds of millions of users of ChatGPT that now might just natively have access to DALL-E, although yes, of course, it's just for Plus and Enterprise users at first, is obviously a really big deal as well. Now, obviously, the other piece of the integration with ChatGPT, which I've decided to break out as a third reason that this is a really big deal, is that this is a clear first step towards multimodality. Quantum physicist Kevin Fisher wrote, DALL-E 3 is a massive step change improvement to put DALL-E in chat. A year ago, pre-ChatGPT even, I built an alpha that combined chat with images. A small group of people felt this magic together and still reminisce. This is a 100% revolutionary release from OpenAI. Kevin quote tweeted himself from October 19th of last year when he wrote, prompt engineering is not the future looks more like this. In it, he shares an example of this alpha, which has a chat-style interface that interacts with images as well. Dr. Jim Fan from NVIDIA is even more precise in his articulation of what DALL-E 3 means in terms of multimodality. He says, I think DALL-E 3 is not just a stance against Midjourney, it's actually a sneak peek of the upcoming epic battle of massively multimodal LLMs against DeepMind Gemini. Quote, DALL-E 3 is built natively on ChatGPT. This is the key phrase. DALL-E 3's extraordinary language alignment is built on a solid textual GPT foundation. Midjourney doesn't really have much reasoning brain, which is why so much prompt hacking is needed. Brain first, pixel second. That's the way to build a strong multimodal AI. So the third reason that this is such a big deal is that it's a first step in a preview of the multimodal future. Now, one thing that has been lurking behind, and the fourth reason it's a big deal, is its impact on immediate competitors like Midjourney. Chase Lean tweeted, OpenAI just announced DALL-E 3, their new AI image generator. Will it replace Midjourney? I think it all comes down to two things. One, how good is ChatGPT at understanding the user and writing prompts for DALL-E? Two, how good will Midjourney version 6 be? As Chase points out, expert Midjourney users know how to write prompts, but they're concerned about things like image quality, prompt adherence, image resolution, character consistency. Based on the recent demo, I'd say that DALL-E and Midjourney version 5.2 have similar quality. But here's the thing, DALL-E is way better at prompt adherence. Unlike Midjourney, DALL-E generates almost everything requested inside the prompt. It can also make some decent text. Combined with GPT, which is amazingly good at writing descriptions, this makes DALL-E truly formidable. A huge win for OpenAI. But Midjourney version 6 is on the horizon and is rumored to have much better image quality, prompt adherence, and an upscaler to increase image resolution. For the past 2 years, superior image quality has kept Midjourney in front of Stable Diffusion. If Midjourney version 6 is able to keep making the best images, it will continue being the AI image generator of choice. I think that that's an accurate assessment. I can only speak to myself and the people that I observe, but I make probably 50 to 100 Midjourney images per day. Some of them are for work, many of them are just for fun or for creativity or for exploration. I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that if Midjourney version 6 produces what I perceive to be better results and higher quality images than DALL-E 3, it's not going to replace Midjourney, at least not fully for me. Convenience is not enough, even if convenience gives DALL-E 3 a big edge when it comes to bringing more people into the image generation space in the first place. More than that, I think that obviously this announcement has to light a huge fire under Midjourney's butts to advance things more quickly. Nick St. Pierre went viral with a tweet that said simply, Midjourney needs to get out of Discord ASAP. And that's a pretty obvious one. A native app for Midjourney is no longer really an option. It's also going to force them to try to reach parity with things like text generation. And so I think if nothing else, you can expect that the next version of Midjourney is going to be a significant amount better, or they risk losing the race entirely. That gets us, however, to our fifth big point, which is maybe the most significant in some ways, and that's what I'm calling competitive accelerationism. Professor Ethan Mollick writes, it looks like the Gemini quickening has begun. With the upcoming release of the first model to likely beat GPT-4, at least temporarily, you can see a burst of announcements. GPT-4 multimodal and DALL-E 3, BART integrations like more. Competition in the space is increasing velocity. Now, of course, to the extent that I just mentioned the positive impacts of that, Midjourney getting better because of that competitive pressure, there are many who are concerned about exactly this type of competitive accelerationism. It was one of the big reasons that Geoffrey Hinton said he left Google, that the market pressure to compete and move faster was making companies act less safely when it came to AI releases. And physicist and MIT professor Max Tegmark said something very similar today. A Guardian piece came out this morning called AI-focused tech firms locked in race to the bottom, warns MIT professor. Physicist Tegmark says competition is too intense for tech executives to pause development to consider AI risks. Now, the piece itself wasn't specifically about this release of DALL-E 3, but more about this broader trend that Professor Mollick was just noticing. You have every big tech company now firing on all cylinders to get ahead. or in the case of OpenAI, to stay ahead. And that works at cross purposes with slow, deliberate, considered AI safety discussions. It even works at cross purposes with preventative mechanisms such as red teaming. Now, all in all, this is a much lower priority right now for the average person who's interacting with this DALL-E 3 news. Like I said, I think people are more excited about this product announcement than anything I've seen in months, maybe since GPT-4. But it is the background noise. It is a piece of this discussion that can't be ignored. And I think that Professor Malik is right to identify that the phase that we're entering, in which GPT-4 becomes no longer inaccessible, but matched or exceeded, is one which will have dramatic impacts on the shape of the industry because of this competitive accelerationism. Still, when it comes to DALL-E 3 specifically, it is very, very hard for me not to be just fully excited, ready to dive in. And so October, when they say this will begin rolling out in ChatGPT Plus, can't come soon enough. Until then, I will be watching to see what people inside OpenAI create, and I will report back my favorite findings. If you want to share your text-to-image images, come join us on the AI Breakdown Discord. It's a great place for exactly that sort of conversation. I just dumped in a bunch of custom magic cards I created as a for example. You can find a link to the Discord at bit.ly/AI Breakdown, and I'll see you there. Thanks as always for listening or watching, and until next time, peace.